when on Thursday it was announced that Mike Triplett is going to our boy over there at New Orleans football. Now you got Underhill and Triplett breaking down the Saints. Are you kidding me? That is a Saints power couple. Mikey T, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
People are saying we're the biggest thing since Hebert and Hester. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, look, that's kind of what I was hearing as well. No, okay, but Mike, before we get to the Saints, because great game coming up Sunday that I want to break down with you. But for you professionally, how was this kind of leap? How did you arrive here, given that you're working for and have been doing excellent work for the biggest in the space for? Well, I don't know, Mike. What's been a decade, maybe more? And
it was 9 years at ESPN and
wow.
10 at the Times Picayune before that. So I guess I'm signing an 8-year deal with Nick, and I'm just going to keep working my way down.
Well, okay. So, and now you're kind of like you go from the corporate kind of mothership to now you're like a part of this kind of rogue operation. How are you feeling?
Well, I do. Look, I don't have a bad word to say about ESPN. I loved working there, and it was hard to leave there. So many, I put in my tweet, ESPN it lived up to its reputation. It was awesome to be on SportsCenter. It was awesome to be at the top of the game. But the people I got to work with there, it's ridiculous. It's tough to leave all the colleagues there. But I had some flexibility. I had the luxury in my life to kind of pick if you could do any job you want, what's the job you want to do?
Yeah.
It's nice to have a teammate again. So me and Nick, we're already like, hey, you want to go outside while Jameis is talking? I'll stay in and work the locker room. Hey, you want to write Friday? I'll write Saturday. That's going to be awesome. And I just love the way he covers the team, and it's right up my alley. I think that's part of the reason he wanted to bring me aboard too. We text all the time. He knows I feel the same way. If you're a diehard fan of the Saints, if you're a diehard fan of any team, this is how you should want your team to be covered.
Yep. Yeah, I love New Orleans football. Right now, a little plug here. If you use the promo code TRIP, TRIP, get 20% off.
Also the ego stroke.
Yeah.
Get my promo codes.
How about that, dude? Trip gets you 20% off the first payment. You get your second month free with the code Firehouse Vets. Okay, let's talk about Sunday, Mike. And I'm going to ask you a very simple question with a very complex answer. And that is, when it comes to Sunday, how do you get that fourth quarter Saints offense to be more of the rule rather than the exception?
Well, the fourth quarter Saints offense is aiming really, really high. And they were in no huddle the whole time. And even Jameis Winston was like, you don't want to do that the whole time. You don't want to have to do that the whole time. But it was a really good sign that when they had to have it, they had it. And maybe, it'll shake some things open and be like, oh, yeah, we got Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jawan Johnson, who seems to be coming along even more this year. Obviously, Alvin Kamara, too, who didn't play as big of a role and is going to be an injury question mark. But so many guys and such a far cry from last year. They got down 16 last year. You were heading for the exits, and the Buffalo Bills fans were filling the lower bowl. It was over. They couldn't make that deficit up. So to see how quickly that has changed is pretty amazing. But we still do have a few question marks. My biggest question mark with Jameis Winston has always been, is he willing to take the free ones that, previously Sean Payton, now Pete Carmichael draw up hey, we're just designing this play where you're just supposed to take 3-step drop and throw a 6-yard pass to Alvin Kamara, 7-yard pass to Michael Thomas. Yeah. And that's it. That's the whole play. Instead, we did see him standing in the pocket a little too long. I know at least one of those sacks could probably be pinned on him. I don't know if it means the guys weren't getting open or if he didn't like what he saw. But I think the biggest job for probably Pete Carmichael and Jameis Winston this week is, how do we get in a rhythm? How do we just start hitting some completions early? Because that first game reminded me of like my kids' flag football games where the quarterback is just standing back there being like, if I wait long enough, somebody's going to get open.
Oh, I know that world all too well as well, Mike. But we were talking about it earlier with Jameis. Like, he did miss a bulk of the preseason and fall camp and that chemistry. You got so many new weapons on offense. Like, sometimes it takes some time. And so you look at the first half compared to the second half, it did look like he just got more comfortable with all his new weapons.
Yeah, and look, I was talking to Nick on the podcast yesterday. I said, I guarantee you next summer, or maybe it'll be the first OTA or the first day of training camp, we're going to be racing to ask Dennis Allen, hey, do you think he should play these guys more in the preseason? Because it looked like they came out and weren't ready for week one. And that's not just the Saints. That's the whole NFL.
That's a great point,
The preseason has started to become a dirty word. But I saw a lot of teams that could have used more preseason work, and I think that was a big part of it. I think rust, guys who hadn't played together yet, and Jameis in particular, he hadn't played since October 31st of last year. So there's no question. Look, and even before the incredible comeback, I wasn't sitting there ready to start writing reports like, oh, no, it's going to be a long season for the Saints. My definite thought was, well, here's week one for you. This looks like what we saw from the Packers in 2021.
Yeah, no, I mean, the preseason thing is interesting because players hate it. But, sometimes in life, you have to do things that you hate. And, all the teams who skip preseason, like watching the NFL meta evolve in that regard is going to be fascinating. You mentioned James not playing since October 31st. Mike Thomas did not play a football game for the New Orleans Saints for 602 days. And then he comes back and he does that? And now Sunday he's got the extra chip on his shoulder because old boy from Tampa's always talking all that noise on him. How impressed were I guess where's your evaluation of where Thomas's form is at in terms of where he used to be, where he kind of ranks in the NFL?
Well, the thing with Michael Thomas is, he doesn't need to get back to 100%. If he does. I haven't even had that in my consciousness. What if he gets back to being a guy who catches 125 passes and 10 touchdowns for this team? I haven't even thought of that. I thought, I just hope he's healthy enough that, he can be, they can be 1A, 1B, 1C, and he could catch 80 passes. And, but already it's like maybe I was, even lowering the bar for the expectation. Look, the injury was significant enough that, 17 games is the step that none of us are qualified to be able to predict whether his body's going to be able to handle that. But we saw it a little bit in training camp, non-contact training camp practices. And then we definitely saw it in the second half where, the things that make Michael Thomas special, the reason he caught all those balls, he's still, you put it up near him and he's going to wrestle that ball down with him.
Mike, when you go back and you watch a tape of that game from a week ago, why did the Falcons or how did the Falcons have so much success running the football against the Saints?
That doesn't make any sense to me. But one thing I do know is this was just a throw it in the trash and never bring it back out game plan from the Saints defense. I mean, it was very clear that they were just kind of standing back, hovering. We've seen this before. We saw it with Cam Newton a lot in the past years where they're like, we're going to make Marcus Mariota throw it against us. We're not going to let him get loose around the edges running. We don't know what their read option might look like. We haven't seen what they're going to do with Mariota in week one. And so it's a very conservative game plan. I think by Nick's tally from his film study, the Saints actually blitzed 0 times in the entire game. And that's not the Saints. They're going to be a lot more aggressive than that. But what I don't understand is if you go conservative, why couldn't you stop the run? You would think that should be part of the conservative game plan is that you should have been more effective against the run. But I'm going to bank on, the last 5 years of history and assume the Saints will be better against the run, even though they've got one of their toughest matchups of the whole season coming up this week against Leonard Fournette. But I think a lot of what we saw last week had to do with that week one rust and had to do with a game plan that just did not work.
What about no Malcolm Roach? How much of a factor do you think that is? Does that factor in at all?
I think sure, and I mean he could be their best nose tackle on this roster. It's absolutely possible. I do think they got a lot of bodies on the defense. They love to rotate on the defensive line. You look at the snap counts at the end. Everybody's between 20 and 30 total, especially the interior guys. And I like the addition of Kentavious Street. And they have so many guys. They had Tano Passigno was a healthy and active, though that was more depth at defensive end, but absolutely Malcolm Roach could help. I like the linebackers. Pete Werner played a hell of a game, and they obviously think highly of Demario Davis. So I expect better things to come from that front seven against the run.
And last question here, Mike. What do you expect Sunday then? How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, my biggest worry would be, Tom Brady's overdue, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's gonna counter and be like, all right, I'm tired of this team making me look terrible. I'm gonna find some things that I can exploit them with. And now he's gonna do it against the secondary that's basically all new outside of Marshawn Lattimore. If Paulson Adebo doesn't play, then 4 of the 5 guys in the nickel package are going to be 4 guys that weren't playing against Tom Brady in the past. Good players. Obviously Tyrann Mathieu. Marcus May looked good in week 1. I think Bradley Roby is a bona fide starting cornerback in the NFL. But, that's a big question. Can you really change out 4 of the 5 guys in the secondary and just show up and continue to keep getting the best of Tom Brady? I think it's still as tall of a task as it is for the other 31 teams in the NFL or 30 teams in the NFL that don't seem to have as much success against Tom Brady.
That's actually a really good point, Mike. Hey, last one for me. If you have any special flag football plays, you can go ahead and send those my way as well, because I'm coaching 3 teams, so anything you got.
Yep.
I am Mr. Run the ball until they prove they can pull a flag.
Me too.
I know the kids love to throw. I know the kids love to throw it, but I'm running like I'm like Air Force out here.
Yes. Hey, the fullback dive. I don't know why it's not working for me. I don't know why.
A heavy rush attack in flag football is fantastic. Mike Triplett, congratulations on the move. NewOrleans.football is the site. Sign up with the promo code TRIP today. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks, Mike.